The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio and TV show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, and the stations or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Sun goes down on a silky day. Quarterman walking through the Milky Way. Oh, you and me, baby, we could think of something to do. It's the right time of the night. The stars are waking above. It's the right time of the night for making love. No use talking when the shadows fall. Night birds calling.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com on all social media networks, X-Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Dr. C.K. Quarterman, and he attended Bible college but pursued a career in business. He also studied such varied subjects as electronics, medicine, law. While being a business and franchise owner, he's the author of the following books: The American Dream, A Systematic Guide to Starting Your Own Business, and Fallen Angels, Giants, UFOs, and the New World Order, a nonfiction about fallen angels and their antics with humanity. Genesis Secrets Revealed offers a verse-by-verse commentary of the first 11 chapters of Genesis and the book Demons and Deliverance, dealing with the onslaught of evil at this present time, making the work of demons and deliverance of paramount importance. Joining me now is Dr. C.K. Quarterman. And Dr. Quarterman, welcome to the X-Zone, sir.
Thank you, Rob. Glad to be here.
Tell me about your interest in fallen angels.
Well, my interest became particularly piqued when I was a couple of years ago. After I retired, I moved up into the mountains of North Carolina. And like the bio said, I went to Bible college way back when, but didn't pursue the particular calling like most people would. But I've always studied and got my doctorate here recently, but I've always studied the Bible and history. And I had a huge amount of notes and had looked in this alien abduction phenomena for a couple of years. And I was staying up on a chalet about 3 o'clock one morning, and I went to let the dog out. And when I did, I saw this creature. You might call it a Bigfoot or something of that sort, but it looked like a human being, except it had the face of a wolf or a dog. And I immediately thought that I knew what it was, but the brevity of the moment required that I exit the scene and ran back inside.
Sure.
But it spurred me on to go ahead and take the notes that I had been taking and the studies I had put together on my computer and look for a publisher. And that's what I did, and it happened that I ran across one in Greenville, South Carolina. And that's how I came about the first book, is that my thought was if I could run into what I call a hybrid, half human, half fallen angel, in the woods of North Carolina, then this kind of thing had to be much more happening than I was aware of or had been awakened to by that time. So it sort of spurred on the whole ministry, which I call End Times Ministry, which I talk about times being as the days of Noah. And that's sort of a catchphrase that comes out of Matthew, the 24th chapter. When the disciples asked Christ, they said, well, what's it going to be like when you return? And everybody knows what comes after that, the marrying and giving in marriage. But for some reason, we never really ask ourselves what was unusual about the days of Noah.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from this commercial break, sir, in 2 minutes. Exonation, my very special guest this hour is Dr. C.K. Quarterman. He's the book of Fallen Angels, Giants, UFO Encounters, and the New World Order. He also has a DVD entitled Fallen Angels, Giants, UFOs, and Prophecies. www.ckquarterman.com is the website, and the good doctor and I return on the other side of this 2-minute break. Don't go away.
I'm sure he'd tell her.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled LITE.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
Well, I spent a lifetime looking for you. Single bars and good time lovers were never true. Playing a fool's game, hoping to win, and telling those sweet lies and losing again. I was looking for love.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. C.K. Quarterman is my special guest this hour. Dr. Quarterman is the author of Fallen Angels, Giants, UFO Encounters, and The New World Order. He also has a DVD out entitled Fallen Angels, Giants, UFOs, and Prophecies. And his website is www.ckquarterman.com. Dr. Quarterman, before we went to the commercial break, you were just starting to tell us about the times of Noah. And what don't we know about the times of Noah?
Well, there's a lot that we don't. And I was actually somewhat surprised myself because normal, typical churches and seminaries do not properly teach what is actually, or what was actually going on. When the disciples heard Christ say, my paraphrase, before I return, look for things to be like the days of Noah, they immediately understood what he was talking about. But for us to understand it, we need to go back to Genesis, the 6th chapter, which is the chapter that talks about the flood. Now, one of the problems is when we read something like that, we tend to read and pull out just what we've already heard. We don't really read it for what's there. But the disciples also had in their knowledge another book that is called the Book of Enoch, which is a historical book, in my opinion, not scripture, but a very good historical book that adds a little bit of detail to the chapter. And what was going on is that fallen angels are called the sons of God in the King James Version, or in the Hebrew, the Beni Ha-Elohim. They came down and mated with humanity, and even later with animals. All right? That's a shock. Most seminaries teach this Genesis, the 6th chapter, as the sons of God being the godly line of Seth, and intermarries with the ungodly line of Cain. But you have to ask yourself, how does that produce what happens in the 4th verse? Because in the 4th verse it says, when the sons of God came in and the daughters of men, that they produced giants. And that's the way the King James says it, which comes from the Latin Septuagint, which is giantitis. The Hebrew word is Nephilim.
Right.
And it means a hybrid creature, something that's half human and half fallen angel. Well, immediately, that shocks most church people, most people in the world it shocks, but it explains exactly why God flooded the world. Can you imagine a world full of hybrids running around, half human, half angelic, and then you mix that with animals? Now, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the Sphinx in Egypt?
Yes, sir, I am.
Got the head of a human, the body of a lion.
Yes.
All of the Egyptian hieroglyphs a great percentage of them are half human, half animal types of hieroglyphs. And even the Bible in 2 Samuel and in Judges talks about lion-headed men, talks about men with 6 fingers, 6 toes, talks about Goliath. We read about Goliath in Sunday school.
Yes.
But nobody ever, in fact, Goliath was not a giant. That's a misnomer. It says he was a son of a giant. So he was even smaller than his daddy. But it all gets regulated to the realm of science fiction or storytelling, you know. Mm-hmm. But in truth, these creatures actually existed. That's how the pyramids were built. That's how these megalithic structures that we find around the world that have been cut to such precision we cannot duplicate it today. These were the kind of creatures that did that.
All right. So hold on here, sir,
mm-hmm.
for a moment. What is the connection between these hybrid creatures and the building of the pyramids?
Well, the building of the pyramids, I believe, were done by these hybrid creatures. Half human, half fallen angels.
And your research is based on what, sir?
Well, it's very simple. If you look at even the 3 normal pyramids that people
mm-hmm.
are most familiar with, look at the size of the entranceways,
the
hallways that run through them. They're built for people larger than a human person. And it's quite obvious that the pyramids were reused by the Egyptians, but probably were not actually built by them. And then you have these megalithic structures all over the world that the technology behind them seem to be similar, but yet can't be duplicated today. You find the same thing in South America. You go in underneath these pyramids in South America, and they'll be 13, 14 feet high mm-hmm. walkways inside of them.
Now, when you say
mm-hmm.
the technology, what technology are you talking about, sir?
Well, technology probably that's beyond what we have today. See, people tend to think that before the flood of Noah that mankind was running around in caves.
Mm-hmm.
But statisticians that I have read are indicating that in their belief there were almost or more people on the earth at the time of the flood than there are in the earth today. Now, if that's true, you could not sustain a 7 billion population without refrigeration, communications, railways, electronics. So the pre-flood people were probably had quite a bit of technology that we don't know about.
So where did these people come from, and where have they gone?
Well, the flood wiped them out, but the giants popped up again just before Israel went into Canaan land. They were seen again. In fact, there were tribes of them. Several of them, the Zimzumerians, the Hittites, and so forth, were all giants. And that brings sort of to the question about how does that tie in to today? Well, if these fallen angels mated with humans in Genesis, the 6th chapter, they were wiped out. They mated with humans again just before Israel went into Canaan land. And Israel, by the way, the Israelis, the Hebrews, were told to kill every man, woman, and child. And that's the reason, because there were hybrids. Then, if that happened then, it is possible, and I say that we are now in this time, that this is beginning to happen again. Now, you say, what would be the signs and what would this look like? I think this is what's happening in the UFO abduction phenomenon. You have women who are being taken at night, abducted. Their reproductive organs are manipulated or messed with. They're put back. And the statistics say that they're abducted again a second time and something is taken from them. Now that sounds a lot to me like, quote, the star gods, as they called themselves to the Mesoamericans, have returned. And since 1948, the UFO phenomena has increased proportionally. And I think that's what we're seeing, is we're seeing a return of the days of Noah. And we will see a time that there will be, quote, an alien disclosure. And we will see these, quote, aliens in the open. But what they will be demonic entities, fallen angels, and hybrids.
Let me ask you this.
This will be the days of Noah.
Let me ask you this then, sir.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a God in heaven, and if we are created in his image and his likeness, why then would he allow this to happen? If he's our father, because I'm a father and I wouldn't let this happen to my children.
Well, I could ask the same rhetorical question about why does God allow sin? Why does he allow pain or hurt?
Oh, there's good questions, because I can't understand it. I think that, when you talk about theology, that theology is lopsided in many ways. And I've often asked if humanity has outgrown theology.
I think 1,000 years ago, the Latins coined a phrase, and the phrase was Deus absconditus. And I don't think today it's been outdone, and it literally translates to mean a hidden God. We know of God from what God reveals of himself, and it's just quite obvious he does not reveal everything. We have 2,000 years ago God coming to earth, the creator becoming the creature in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some understanding of God from Jesus, because he says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. But it still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. He never answered why evil existed. Certain questions like that he never asked, never answered.
Why wouldn't he answer them?
Hmm?
Why wouldn't he answer?
I have no idea.
Maybe he didn't know the answer.
No, I think he knew the answer. I think that there's some things, it's like in theology we have a term we call predestination and free will. And you literally can take one side or the other and you can argue it all day long.
Yeah.
And each side be absolutely correct.
You see, we've got to take our news break, sir. But I'd just like to give you my interpretation of free will. It's the great escape clause. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Playing a fool's game, hoping to win, and telling those sweet lies and losing again.
My name is Rob McConnell, and I would like to tell you about a very special lady that I have the pleasure of knowing, and that's Miss Sylvia Anthony. Sylvia Anthony believes the golden years are a time to gear up and get busy, not relax and take it easy. She has faced many hardships in her 84 years, but they have made her stronger and more determined. As founder and president of Sylvia's Haven, a shelter for women and their children near Boston, Sylvia has helped transform over 1,086 lives in the past 27 years, not only with housing, but also providing direction as to where they can go to develop the earning skills they want and need to live free from difficult domestic situations. Sylvia's Haven is everything to Sylvia Anthony, even calling it her magnificent obsession. Women who qualify for the program at Sylvia's Haven receive assistance via guidance counselors to find the appropriate job opportunity. Women and their children may remain at the housing for up to 2 years. At the end of this time, or sooner, a woman who is successfully employed and has an apartment or home may leave Sylvia's Haven to begin a new and independent life. Now this is where you come in to help make Sylvia's dream into a reality. Sylvia's dream is to have a Sylvia's Haven in every state to help as many women and their children as she can, and to help this dream come true. A crowdfunding site has been established which can be accessed at www.sylviasdream.org. Now that's www.sylviasdream.org. With your financial help and support, Sylvia Anthony will continue to help those in their time of need, not only in the Boston area, but with her dream of having a Sylvia's Haven in every state of the United States. Your help is needed to make Sylvia's dream come true. Please visit and give at www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. And remember, the only difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. We need your help to make Sylvia's dream come true. Visit www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. For the X Zone Radio TV show and the X Chronicles newspaper, I am Rob McConnell.
This is the X Zone Radio and TV show on the X Zone Broadcast Network and our worldwide broadcast affiliates. If you have a question for Rob McConnell or his guest, or if you have had a paranormal experience, call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 0, or email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And on our major social media sites, our address is X Zone Radio TV.
Well, I just got back from Roswell, where the aliens have been. And if you ask the feds the cause, well, they'll only lie again. Now I'm hunted by the gumshoes, and I'm wanted by the cops, 'cause they think that I might be the guy making circles in the crops. And I know that there's a conspiracy from the voices in my head. Elvis lives, that's clear to me. It's McCartney who is dead. And if the Mars men should come again and take me, I will go. I will take a trip on their rocket ship. God bless the UFO. JFK this message, it's the Cuban Army's fault. And I know that Dave Koresh is alive inside a vault. We've seen reports in papers of a guy who knows about a car that runs on chewing gum, but the Arabs rubbed him out. And we loudly warn that America is badly unprepared. With the Cold War through, we need something new that can get you good and scared. You wonder just who is warning you of conspiracies today. We're the ones who fill the rumor mill. We are the CIA.
Exonation, Dr. C.K. Quarterman is our special guest this hour. He's the author of Fallen Angels, Giants, UFO Encounters, and The New World Order. And he also has the DVD entitled Fallen Angel, Giants, UFOs, and Prophecy. His website is www.ckquarterman.com. So, based on what we were talking about in the first half of the interview, Doctor, it seems that we, the people, really don't have the full story on what is really in the Bible or its true translation.
Well, I was thinking about this during the break because the advertisement was talking about vampires. Mm-hmm. And while I ate dinner tonight, I was watching a little boy on the table up ahead of me who was drawing a picture of a vampire. I want to read this to you out of Genesis, the 6th chapter, just the 4th verse. Mm-hmm. It says, there were giants. Remember, I gave you a Hebrew word for that. In the earth in those days, and also after that, okay? I.e., that means it happened again.
Right.
When the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became the mighty men which were of old. Then it gives you a hint to who these were, the men of renown. Think in terms of the Greek mythologies and realize that they were not entirely myth. Where did vampires actually come from? Where did that legend originate? It didn't originate in the 1800s with Bram Stoker. It originated when there were half-breeds, half-fallen angels and half-animals around that walked the earth. These things actually happened, and half-angel, half-humans walking the earth. And these things are coming on the earth again. They won't be called that. You know, you won't look at them and say these are Nephilim or Nephilim or hybrids. They'll go by the name of aliens, because that's what everything is working up to, I think, is a full disclosure. What the Bible would call hybrids or Nephilim, the world will call aliens.
Now, you said the sons of God? I thought there was only one.
The angels.
Well, why are they called the sons of God if they're angels?
Because the term there in the Hebrew is Beni Ha-Elohim. It's used 6 times in the book of Job, and it's translated as angels. The term is also translated as angels in the Alexandrian Septuagint. The King James just translates it as sons of God. But, like I said, the Hebrew is Beni Ha-Elohim, so a proper exegesis of it is to use the same term throughout wherever it's used, and the term would be angels. Now, some people say angels can't take on human form, but yes, they can. And Jude says, and Peter says, that they took on human form before the flood, and they left their first domain. And this is something that's forbidden, but something they are capable of doing. And I mentioned earlier the book of Enoch.
Yes.
It's a historical book that was found where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, the Qumran caves. And it mentions that there were 200 angels, so it was a very small number of them that actually took on human physical form and mated with women. But it so affected the world that with sin and unrighteousness that God ends up putting Noah in the ark. And if you read that, you'll find it says Noah was perfect in his generations and a righteous man. Now, why would it have anything to do with his generations? Well, it's because so much of the world had become corrupted with interbreeding that it made the statement that Noah was perfect in his generation. So the ark, if lack of a better way of putting it, was a perfect genetic model. So God destroys the world because of all these hybrids and unrighteousness that's come into the world, including, it says, every creature had corrupted its way. These fallen angels are nasty.
So in other words, God didn't create a perfect world.
And that would be a very good trap to walk into. But I'll try to weasel out of that as best I can by saying that the world in Genesis 1:1 was created perfectly. But by Genesis 1:2, it was destroyed. The world was without form and void and had to be recreated. And that's because Lucifer had fallen and sin had come into the world, or the universe that we know now. So did God create Lucifer? Did God create sin? No, but he certainly allowed it. He allowed angels to have their free will.
But if God is the creator, then who created Lucifer?
Well, he certainly did.
All right, so God created something imperfect, which means God is not perfect. He's imperfect.
That's straw man reasoning.
It's also very logical.
The perfect can create the imperfect.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. Are you a father?
I'm a father.
Okay. Could you see yourself destroying any of your children, no matter what they did?
Well, let me ask you a question. I'll answer it with one.
Sure.
When the Creator, Jesus Christ, we're told in John 1:1, created the worlds,
Mm-hmm.
when he picked up the clay and he breathed life into it and created the creature, he knew in advance that he himself would have to become the creature and die for it. Would you create a creature that you one day would have to become and die?
No.
To redeem? Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
No.
And I don't understand it either.
But when if God is the Father and God is the creator of all mankind, and if we are created in God's image, in his likeness, and in the ten, and wait a minute, hold on here. And in the 10 Commandments that God himself handed down to Moses, it says, "Thou shalt not kill." And yet, how many people did God kill? All the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, his children, he killed them all. He killed all the...
Let me answer that.
Wait a second. He killed all the...
You mistranslated.
Wait a minute. What's the difference between murder and kill?
It's a lot of difference. The government puts people to death. That's killing them, but that's not murder.
So God
murder is unrighteous killing.
So what gave God the right to kill?
What gives the Creator the right to make life or take life?
That's if you believe that there is the Creator.
Certainly I believe that God's the Creator and Jesus is the Creator, yes.
So once again, I'll ask you, as a father, why would you kill? You know, God gives us all a very bad example of what to do.
Well, let's look at this example. Jesus is the Creator, and he goes to the cross and dies. I just be honest with you, I don't think I could do that for my children.
Well,
could you?
Well, would I give my life for my children?
2 Corinthians says that God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, so it was God on the cross. If I was God, I'd let this creation hang it out, buddy.
Well, listen, if I could give my life for one of my children, I would.
I wouldn't.
I would.
Mm-mm.
You wouldn't? You'd see your own child die if you had the ability to save them?
I don't think most people would. I think they'd save their own skin.
I disagree with you, sir. Any father worth his weight would gladly give up his life for his child.
Well, I think that's what Jesus did.
But Jesus was on the cross. If Jesus is God, why would he look up to the sky and say, "Father, why have you why have you forsaken me?" Why would he say that if he is...
The Gospel of John, first chapter says, "In the beginning was the Word, Jesus, and the same was in the beginning with God, the same was God." So Jesus is God. What you're talking about gets a little complicated in what we call the Trinity, meaning that God has three distinct persons. It's not easily understood.
It's not easily understood because we really don't know what happened, and you've got a bunch of people who wrote a bunch of books to try and make sense of their own existence?
No, I don't think that's true at all, because Hebrews says that God in sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, but in the last days he spoke by Christ, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person. So Jesus on the cross was God and the very express image of him. So bottom line being, we as men or humanity are not going to totally understand God.
Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we understand? Why shouldn't we? What's he got to hide?
Well, it's not a matter of hiding. It's a matter of if if I was a fish in a tank,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm swimming around in my little water tank, and you reach in there and grab my buddy,
Yeah.
all I see is this giant hand that comes down here and gets it. But I have no idea that that's attached to an arm, which is attached to a body. I have no concept of that. And God, by the very nature of his existence, is outside of our realm. So it's just parts of him we're not going to comprehend.
Or is that the way the story was written, so it never has an end?
Well, I think that the story has maybe an end that we're not quite told all about. We're told that in the end the earth will be rolled up and burned away like a scroll, but that's quite a ways from here.
But once again, there's a perfect example of a father once again destroying. And you see in my book, any father who does anything to harm his children is not worthwhile being called a father. Anybody can be a father, but it takes a man to be a dad.
Well, what do you call Christ going to the cross then?
I don't know if it's true or not.
Well, I think that the overwhelming evidence is that it is. Josephus was a historian at the time of Christ. He wrote about him.
All right, so...
Others at the time wrote that he existed. He was seen by over 500...
I'm sorry? Hello? Hello? Well, there you have it, Exo Nation. Another perfect example of what happens when people get in the hot seat. They just kind of hang up, or they don't answer. And when they don't answer, what do? Disconnect them. Now, tell me, Exo Nation, do you know any true father or mother who would not give up their life for their child? I would. In a heartbeat. I love my children. No matter what they did, I would never, ever want to see them destroyed. Never. Not once. But that's me. I'm not God. I'm just Rob McConnell. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up for tonight here in the X Zone. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll free. And I will be back as we take a good look at this past hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. I don't know, from aliens to the Minotaur, I guess we can say, to Greek mythology, to the Bible, to Noah. I don't know. Annie Lennox, take me to the next break. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. MATSTEIN.com. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. And welcome back, everyone. C.K. Quarterman was our guest this hour, but towards the end of the last segment, when I guess I was asking him too many questions that he couldn't answer, he hung up, or we lost the signal with him. And yet I asked him at the beginning of the interview, before we went on air, if he was using a wireless phone. He says, no, I've been doing this enough time. I know I have a hard wire. So that can't be the excuse where, he lost the signal or whatever. Whatever it is, like he's gone, goodbye. No problem. I must say that I disagree with him 100%. And I don't know. Would I give my life for my kid? You're darn right I would, any time. I really would. And when it comes to biblical times, it seems that there's two gods, the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. And this is the first time anybody's ever told me that the implication of the word sons in Genesis with the Nephilim, it was referring to angels. It seems that there's a lot of controversy here, and once again we're getting into end-time prophecies. We're bringing aliens, we're bringing alien abduction into the scenario. I don't buy it for 1 minute. I really don't buy it. And when members of the clergy start dipping their fingers into the UFO well, then you know that theology is going to hell in a handbasket, especially some parts of it, not all of it, not everybody. And, let me reiterate that. And it's not everybody. It's just those who are seeking their little 15 minutes of fame and fortune. Yeah. I don't buy it at all. I really don't buy it. And I'm not even going to give out his website anymore. Goodbye. I'm looking for answers. I don't want hypothetical situations. I want proof. Don't you want proof, Exo Nation? Aren't you tired of all the different stories that you hear and read in the internet on these different tabloids? Don't you want the truth? Don't you want the facts? Don't you want answers? Well, so do I. And you just can't get answers from snake oil salesmen who are trying their very best to sell you their own very unique pitch because nobody else has done it. You know what? I don't think there's an angle between religion and ufology that hasn't been touched. But this one here, well, it took the book for now. And as you can see, this last segment was just you and I. I nearly started playing another one, Bites the Dust, but nah. Couldn't be bothered. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. So until tomorrow night, my good friends, all around the world in the X-Zone Nation, take care of yourself and each other. And always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.
But you can't stay here. I know I want to take me home.